Be Joyful. I hope you are all well. It's Tyler. For the next 5 days of these living room sessions, we're going to be taking a look at what the name of God reveals about his character, about who he is, as we approach this coming Sunday, when we're going to take a look at just two simple words that are in the Lord's Prayer out of Matthew 6, and that is thy name. Hallowed be thy name. What is God's name? What does his name mean for us? If you would, turn with me to Exodus chapter 3. This is right towards the beginning of the Bible, and this is a story that if you have any history in the church, growing up in Sunday school, you know this story. You saw it played out on the felt board. This is God revealing himself to Moses in the form of a burning bush, and God saying to Moses, "You are the man I have chosen to do my work, to free the nation of Israel from his people, from the taskmasters, from the slavers in Egypt." And so if you would, take a look at verse 13 in chapter 3. Then Moses said to God, "If I come to the people of Israel and say to them, the God of your fathers has sent me to you, and they ask me, what is his name?" Basically, he's asking, who are you? "What shall I say to them?" And God says to Moses, "I am who I am." And he said, "Say this to the people of Israel, I am has sent me to you." Another way of putting the name I am is a name that I'm guessing you've probably heard, Yahweh, which almost sounds like breath escaping your lips, Yahweh. What does it mean that God gives himself this name, and the name is I am? As simple as that. I am who I am. There's a lot for us to unpack in that, and we're going to take a look at a different element of that for each of the next 5 days. And you know, really, I think in our society at this time in history, in our culture, the notion of the importance of a name has somewhat been lost. It's somewhat been diminished. But throughout history, there was a lot of meaning attached to a name. Nowadays, maybe we choose a name based upon how it sounds, if it's unique. But really, names carry incredible importance, and God's name is no different. And there are kind of 5 key things that I want us to look at and consider in what God's name is, in God saying that he is I am. And the first is that God is beyond time. He has no beginning. He has no end. He is the ultimate reality. And we're going to look at a little bit more of that in just a second. He is the ultimate beyond. Secondly, that he is the absolute reality, that all that is, all that was, all that ever will be, all reality is from his will and from his making. Thirdly, that he is completely independent. He relies on nothing to be, and nothing supports or counsels or causes his being or sways his being. And by extension, all things that are not God are dependent upon God. So all that he is completely independent of all that is, and all that is completely dependent upon him. Fourthly, that he is constant. Yesterday, today, and tomorrow. He cannot improve. He cannot devolve. He will not deteriorate. He will not be added to. He is completely, always, utterly constant. And lastly, we're going to look at on Friday that he is most worthy, he is most important, he is most valuable, and of course, and by extension, he is most deserving of our affection. So for you today, I would encourage you, spend some time taking a look at that verse in Exodus chapter 3, verse 13, and consider what it means, what God's name means about who he is. So if you would, write down, maybe as you spend some time journaling, write down kind of 3 things. How would you answer the question, who are you? First. Second, how would you answer the question, who is God? And then lastly, as we think about today the notion of God being beyond time, and I spoke about this when I preached a few weeks back, the idea that God interacts with time in a way that is completely other from how we interact with time and how we understand and know time to be. So God, we don't say that God was in the past and that God will be in the future and that God is now. No, God is currently in the past. He is currently in the future. He is currently at all times, always. He interacts with time, engages with time in a way that is completely other from how we understand time. What does that mean for who God is? And what does that mean? What are those implications for us? What are those implications for our community, for our world? That God is completely and utterly and fundamentally beyond time. Spend some time thinking about that, and then we'll pick things up tomorrow. Thanks, guys. Have a great day.